Something to talk about is the Bainbridge Island Senior Community Center's thrice times a week event to get together. Today, we're going to be talking about movies with TJ Faddis. We are sponsored by Fieldstone Memory Care of Bainbridge Island. Fieldstone offers innovative and compassionate care, and they are now accepting residents. And they are also offering day stay and respite programs. To learn more, call 360-689-4314. Also, I'd like to acknowledge that the Senior Community Center is on the ancestral homeland of the Coast Salish people, the Suquamish tribe, the people of the clear salt water. We honor them and are grateful for their hospitality.
It's my great privilege and pleasure to introduce TJ Faddis, who at one time was the manager of the Linwood Theatre and did something that I still wish they would do today, which is to go down the aisle at the beginning of every movie and tell us a little bit about the movie that we may not have known when we walked in the door. So today I'm going to welcome TJ and I'm going to ask her my first question. Did you see the Oscars this year?
You know, I didn't think, I did not start watching the Oscars because I didn't think they could top the 2018 snafu where they named the wrong movie Best Picture of the Year. It's like, they couldn't top that. And then I got a text from my son that said, "Mom, Will Smith just punched Chris Rock at the Oscars." It's like, all right, I'll change the channel from TCM to What's Going On. And so I did start watching the Oscars. Yeah. Did you watch?
No, I too had given up after that snafu, but I believe it or not, got an email from the Daily Telegraph in England, of which I am a subscriber, and they had probably a 2-minute clip. So I saw the whole thing, not just the 10 seconds, but it was like, oh, that was interesting.
What was interesting is how taken aback everyone was, to the point that when Will Smith won the Oscar for his acting in a film the past year, people stood up anyway and applauded. Like they didn't quite know how to process what they had just seen. So it was interesting. And I thought, I kind of think he might want to return that Oscar because that's bad it's got bad juju for him. Not that I think he doesn't deserve it. I just can't see him looking at that statue and getting any enjoyment. As a reminder.
Yes, and his next 2 projects have both been put on hold. Oh. So there are going to be repercussions for it.
Right. Yeah. That was just hard. That was just hard. And the speech, the less said about that, the better. Just a bad night for the man. So, yeah. But what about the pictures? What about the films themselves? Were you happy with who won Best Picture?
Well, I've seen the movie Coda because I have a friend who luckily has Apple TV and invited me over to see it. It was a sweet film. You knew what was going to happen. And yes, it was really interesting, and it showcased what it's like to be deaf.
Very well.
But I wondered if it should have won. And this is my personal opinion. Because when a movie wins the Oscar, it just has to be more than.
Oh, you're freezing, Janet.
So I wasn't expecting it, although a lot of people said that would happen, because I think it was the lesser of 6 evils, as it were.
Well, I thought the film was so authentic. I thought the acting was some of the best acting that I had seen, and it was so heartfelt. Now, my friend Vicky, who was my movie buddy before she moved back to Chicago. She thought it kind of played like a Lifetime movie, but I don't think it did. I thought that all of the emotion was earned, that I felt for these people. And I thought you were right. It showed really, really well what it's like for deaf people, as did that movie, was it last year or the year before, called The Sound of Metal?
Oh,
Wow, that's a powerful movie about deafness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. What movie would you have rather have seen win it?
Well, I don't know. I saw Licorice Pizza and thought that was probably the oddest movie I had seen. Just the premise was odd, and the lead. So it's a story of a lady who's 25, and a 16-year-old high school boy falls in love with her. And it's Philip Seymour's son getting his acting debut.
Ooh.
And he is like his father, but he's not quite got his father's screen presence. So I wasn't as enthused about this movie as I think a lot of other people were.
One that made me sad that it didn't get a single Academy Award was Nightmare Alley. I thought the cinematography and the art direction and the production values were so stellar. And, you know, Guillermo del Toro is so brilliant. And it might have had a plot hole or two, but then so did the 1947 original with Tyrone Power.
Yeah.
But this was just so sumptuous to look at. I loved that. I thought that film was masterful. And I also thought The Power of the Dog, which I resisted up until almost the last minute. It's like, oh, gee, do I want to see another film about toxic male masculinity? I don't know. But I was really glad I saw it. I thought the performances were great. And I never saw it coming. So, and then when I realized what had happened, I thought it was very masterfully done.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. Well, no, enjoy is not the right word. I was intrigued by it.
Okay, that's fair.
I would not call it an enjoyable movie, but I was glad I saw it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. And the other one that I really thought deserved to be in the Best Picture category was Belfast.
Oh, yes.
Oh, what a heartful little movie that was. And Judi Dench was only on screen maybe 6 or 8 minutes, and I can't even pinpoint why I can't take my eyes off her, what it is she does, that she really has earned the title, you know, dame in the acting community. She's riveting, while at the same time it appears like she's not doing anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was so much in the movie Belfast, she was so much older than her husband, but you didn't know.
Right.
Karen Hines must be in his 60s, right? Her husband.
Right.
Yeah. And she is in her 80s, but you would have thought they were exactly the same age. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah. And that kid was amazing. He was so great.
Yes.
Oh. Well, Reed, did you see any of the top 10 movies? And was there one that you would have wished had gotten more attention?
No.
Short answer.
I'm sure there are people here who would like to jump in and give some
please
some comments about their wishes. I will just say that Kim Morgan, who was one of the screenwriters of the Nightmare movie that you were talking about, I had the pleasure at one point of working with her, so I was rooting for her as a personal favorite. But
No.
anyway, yeah, I feel as though this has been a kind of a weird year for movies because so many of the movies were viewed streamed, and also all mixed up with a lot of other kinds of experiences that we were getting virtually. So so it wasn't, we didn't have sort of the showcase of movies this year that we are used to in the good old days when we, and I don't know whether we're ever going to go back to that, because obviously the third wall of entertainment has been broken, and with Coda being an example of a movie that you know, got the major award and was in on, as you said, Apple TV. So so it's gonna be as splintered a experience as the rest of our cultural life, I think.
I think so too. You know, I remember telling my son Ian, who turns 40 next year, and he worked with me at Linwood Theater since he was 15, you know, during his formative years in high school. And I said, I'm afraid, Ian, that you're going to be the last generation to actually consider going to the movies. I think, yeah, that, but who knows? I mean, you know, predictions are precarious, especially about the future. So.
Exactly.
TJ and Reed, don't you think that there's certain things that have to be on the big screen? It has to. Dune, you couldn't do Dune in your living room, even with a 75-inch TV. I mean, even bigger than, it's just not the same. Okay, I saw Lost City, Piffle, but you know, the vistas of the Dominican Republic is where they filmed it. And it's fabulous seeing some things, and I think Dune's another one. And I loved West Side Story. Nobody talked about West Side Story. I know it's a remake, but I think my belief, and I wanted Coda. I saw it, but first when I saw all the nominees, but I think that it is ultimately a hopeful movie, and in a world that has very little of that. And we needed that. And I think that's why I got Coda. Power of Dog was fabulous, but bleak, 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 bleak.
Yeah.
And the same for Nightmare. Fabulously, but we don't need that. And by the time
I needed that.
Huh?
I needed that.
Yeah.
Well.
But yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying, and I think it's very valid. Yeah, there are some movies that I'm not interested in seeing. I'm not interested in seeing any war movie whatsoever, and haven't been for about 5 years. You know, I used to be totally intrigued with other countries' politics, because up until 5 years ago, I sort of thought that our politics were above that kind of stuff. Well, that could never happen in this country, right? And I now know better. And yeah, just how precarious democracy can be. So I'm no longer terribly interested in the trials and tribulations of those who are living under dictators or under not so fortunate times.
I'd like to just chime in something before you move on from talking about movies and theaters. So I'm dialing in from Sedona, Arizona. And, you know, most of you probably know that things have been looser down here in terms of gathering for a while. And so I was, you know, I've saw 8 of the 10 films, and I saw several of them in the theater. And we just had the Sedona Film Festival in February. And it was social distanced and masked, but it was selling out. In fact, the Sedona Film Festival theater here is adding another theater right now. And so I just wanted to chime in that I know perhaps up there you feel like maybe it's never going to return, but I can see down here that people are coming back to the films. And even though you can sit at home and watch it, they're still making a point of going to the theater and paying $15 or more, you know, to watch it. So I just wanted to chime in. I think there's hope.
That pleases
Good.
me. Thank you, Catherine.
Sure.
Yay!
Yeah.
Maria or Tom, did you have a favorite film out of the top 10?
Yes,
I didn't-
I thought I'm sorry, Tom.
Go ahead, I'll wait. Go
I
on.
was looking at this screen and I didn't see that you did. I thought Power of the Dog was large, epic, big movie, and I'm really glad that Jane Campion won for Best Director for that, because it is a big, major, very complicated film. But I think my favorite of the whole time, I hated West Side Story, by the way, was Don't Look Up. That's a brilliant satire. That's right up there with Dr. Strangelove and all these. I mean, it satirized every element of our society. No, it wasn't a big movie, but boy, I didn't think it was going to get Oscar recognition, but I think that may be around for a while. People looking at that in terms of just brilliant satire.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I must say West Side Story, I did it too many times in summer stock. I hate it. I mean, I was, good God. Why with all the issues and all the things now to bring that out? I know he tried to make it political, and he did that, and he did a good job, but
I'm just going to tell you, Maria, completely agree with you. Yeah. I couldn't understand why it was remade either.
Yeah.
Christina, I just noticed you were here. Welcome, girlfriend. Oh my God, long time no see.
I know. Hello from Maryland. So
Hello, dear heart. Did you get to see any movies?
I haven't. I since December, I've sort of been in moving mode. I'm finally getting to where I'm like, okay, I could take a breath. And so I'm actually probably going to watch Coda on the TV, not on the big screen. Coda this weekend. So
Nice.
I've missed all of the movies. Yeah.
Okay, do Coda and do Nightmare Alley.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did watch the dog one.
Oh,
The-
yeah.
Yeah. And I love mysteries. And for the life of me, I'm like, I couldn't figure out what was happening. I'm like, what is this?
Did you figure it out with the anthrax?
I did.
And
After
my
I was like,
God.
oh, it's a mystery, of course. Okay. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
good.
We were so busy worried about that young man's vulnerability to
Mhm.
from the older man
Yeah.
that
Yes.
we completely overlooked.
We completely did.
Yeah.
We thought, oh my gosh, he's going to be taken advantage of. Oh,
Yeah.
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 I was like, okay,
It was
this is good.
fabulous. And Tom, what film did you like?
I didn't really like any of them.
It's the curmudgeon in the group. Tell me more.
No, I didn't. I think, compared to the movies that we used to see, none of them, Power of the Dog, I thought, I didn't care for it. I mean, it just didn't grab me. And I think, when you're talking about the movies now, like doing West Side Story again, you wonder, why do they redo these movies? I liked the first West Side Story. This one I did see, and I thought the first one was better, to be honest. But I think I think they feel like they have to do something a little different when they make the movie, so they're trying to put a different twist on it or a different spin. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But the one that's going to be at Senior Center Friday night, I saw that. I think that's an excellent movie.
What movie's that, Tom?
What is it?
What is it, Reed? I can't remember the name of it. It's about the kids. I'd have to look at the program to see what it is, but
Sorry, it's Moonrise Kingdom.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That Wes Anderson movie.
Yes.
Have you seen that, TJ?
Yes. Well, I saw a couple Wes Anderson movies.
This is set off an island on the coast of New England. Two 12-year-olds fall in love and run away together into the wilderness.
Right. Okay. Yes. No, I did not see that one.
Young love carried to an extreme.
Yes.
But no, I just don't think the few movies, some of these movies I will go and see now. I didn't see Coda or Licorice Pizza, or I really didn't see many of them. Since you're not there anymore, TJ, we don't go to Linwood as much.
Oh, sweetie. Oh gosh, I understand. Yeah. Well, things will open up for sure. Well, I am down at BIMA showing movies on Tuesdays. And
every Tuesday?
every Tuesday we've got a film going. We got the Smart Film series back up and running. And right now we're in the middle of our film series for this month is based on migrations. And last night we did Winged Migration, if you remember that magnificent documentary with birds in flight.
With the cameras on their heads.
Yeah. How do you find out what's playing there? What do you?
Go to biartmuseum.org. So next week, we're going to do the Grapes of Wrath on Tuesday as part of the migration series. The following week, we're doing Ai Weiwei's film called Human Flow. That's about forced migration. And then at the end of the month, the last Tuesday of the month, we're doing that fabulous movie, Lacho Drone. If you've never seen it, you want to come see it on the big screen. It's about the Roma peoples from India all the way through Morocco, across Europe to France and Spain. And it's all done mostly in music and song and dance and costumes. And, it's just the Roma people being Roma people.
Is that a week from Tuesday?
It's going to be at the end of the last Tuesday of the month, which is
The 26th.
26th.
26th. Yeah. So
TJ,
2:00 matinee, 7:00 evening.
is that subtitled?
Twice a day.
Yes, it is. And the thing that may capture your attention is that from the roots in India of these nomadic Romas, you will see a lot of their movements are mimicked in flamenco all the way up in Spain, and the whirling dervishes of Morocco. That too is reflected in gypsy dance and stuff. So it's all integrated, interrelated, and just amazing.
Yeah.
So.
I have a question.
Did you read?
Am I still on?
Yes, you are.
Did you see the French Dispatch? And if you did, would you like to say something about it? Because I had trouble with that one.
Oh, I did not see it, Maria.
Oh,
I'm really
okay.
not a fan of that particular director. He's a little too twee for me. I feel like I need cavities after I watch one of my cavities filled after I watch one of them. So I don't, and it's too bad I'm not opinionated, so that you really know how I feel.
Okay.
But he's not my favorite.
I agree, Maria. Obscure. He's obscure.
Yeah. So, Janet,
Yes.
tell me, what else did you come away with the Oscars? Were you happy with some of the decisions, or unhappy?
Yeah, I was happy that Kenneth Branagh won for Belfast because I really enjoyed that movie. But before, one other movie I saw, and I think I need to shift what my definitions are, was I saw The Worst Person in the World, which was signed as a romantic movie. Well, certainly romance has died on that screen. It was Norwegian with subtitles. And I thought if that was romantic, then I'm not. It was very noir.
I haven't seen it. mostly because I'm afraid it's about me.
No, it's not, TJ.
No.
You're not as egocentric as that lady is. who was
Oh,
really-
okay.
Yeah.
But I do want to see it. So, okay. But yeah, and Carolyn, did you say it?
Yeah, it's a last resort. It is so depressing that there's that kind of people taking up real estate and breathing oxygen. It just,
Yes.
I was,
Rotten Tomatoes tomato meter gives it 97. So I guess
I didn't put, I actually have seen films I had 3 thumbs down on, but that, it's not bad. It's just not good. Now, Drive My Car, I'd see that. That's good. And that's
Okay.
subtitle. People won't go see subtitles, but that's Japanese and that's really good.
Yeah, but it's 3 hours.
Yeah,
Couldn't you
and that's
make
the
a 2-hour
problem.
movie?
That's the problem. No, it goes too slow. It could have been edited, but it was a really intriguing. It was fascinating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know if it's a segue, but I'd love to hear somebody explain the appeal. I mean, you're saying you loved it. My husband and I, we thought it was torture watching Drive My Car. And most people I've talked to just hated that movie. And I'd love to have somebody explain to me, what was I missing? Because we just thought it was awful. But you obviously got something out of it, and so did the critics, but I can't imagine enjoying that movie.
It was such an interesting premise that he was invited to do a workshop, if you will, and direct a play in another place, and they forced him to take this driver, and he's examining his life, kind of watching her and her life, and she was so buttoned up and closed down, and it was, and she was, I just loved it. And then at the end, she's got his car, and which he absolutely loved, and just watching him, the flashbacks when he's evaluating his life, I thought it was interesting. Absolutely too long, but I've sat through worse. not in terms of length. I think that's no. Big Country is over 3 hours. The old Big Country. Remember that with Charlton Heston? Talk about toxic. I think that's what I put in my review. Toxic masculinity on parade. Everybody had a problem. And I can't remember who that was. And she was horrible. So I didn't care because the men were better than the women. The women were horrible. One woman was good, but the other one was awful. So go ahead.
Did you like The Lost Daughter?
Yeah, that was overlooked, I think. I think Coleman's performance was great. And Buckley, Buckley's that right?
The
daughter. She's the
supporting
The
actress?
the younger
Yeah.
version. Yeah, and I don't think people appreciate her. I think she's really an interesting individual. What's that first thing we saw her in? She wore cowboy boots. She was a country western singer in England. Remember that? Do you remember this?
Oh, good heavens, that movie. Okay.
That's the first time I ever remember seeing her. What was the name of that?
Something Rose.
Yes. Yeah. And I thought,
Wild Rose?
I
Oh,
don't remember.
Anyway.
I'll look it up and put it on somewhere. But
yeah.
she suddenly pops up, and then she finds her way into all these odd places. And I think she's consistently interesting. I don't know. Anybody else does.
Well,
I love her too. I love her too, but I don't know this film. I'd like to know the name so I could see it. I first time I ever saw her was in Broadchurch, the series, the British series, and thought she was great in that.
Well, if Sheila Curran were here, she could expound more on The Lost Daughter, because she
loved
over
that.
the moon about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Oh, wait,
saw
hold
it.
it. Is that the one? Okay, so she is a writer. Am I thinking of the right one? She goes on vacation. She's a writer, and she sort of
Yes.
gets, okay, I know which one you're talking about. I did see that one. Yes.
What'd
Yeah.
you think about it, Christina?
I thought, okay, I watched it because of the director, right? That was her first directing.
Maggie Gyllenhaal. Yeah.
Gyllenhaal. That was, yeah. So she's into directing now, and she had to go through this whole thing because the author of the book actually doesn't ever do interviews or doesn't isn't known. Nobody knows who the author of the book is. She keeps herself anonymous, right? Well, and so there's this relationship going on between Gyllenhaal and the actual author to get the rights to do the movie. And so that's why I watched it. It was intriguing, that story to begin with. But you want to know something? I think Gyllenhaal, because of the type of movies that she has done, which are always a little off, they're a little skewed in ways. I thought she did a good job directing this one, because at the end, you don't know whether the mother actually dies or not, right? But it did sit there and start playing on or making you question the trope of what being a good mother is. And I thought that's, and that's Gyllenhaal. Gyllenhaal always does these things that are a little off. They're a little twisted in some way.
Yeah.
And I thought she accomplished that pretty good in this movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the movie was Wild Rose.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes,
Yeah.
thanks,
Yeah.
Carol.
A little research here on the
Yeah.
back
There we
end.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw Lost Daughter with my dear friend Ron. Remember, he used to work with me at the Linwood. We worked together, and his partner and a friend of his. And I have to say, with the four of us at the end of that 2 hours, we were kind of throwing metaphysical sock balls at the screen. It's like, this is 2 hours I will not get back. So we didn't quite have the same response to the film. But that's why I love talking to you guys about movies, because what resonates with some, others have had different life experiences, and that resonance just falls flat.
Yeah.
So I love these types of discussions.
That film, I was scratching my head all the way through. What's this? What's it about? What's going on? And so it wasn't my favorite.
I'll tell you what I would like to see, and I haven't gotten to them yet. One is Flea. It was up for Best Foreign Film and Best Documentary. Carolyn, did you see Flea? Tell me about it.
I worked all year on this.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did.
I'm glad you're here.
Hulu. You can get it on Hulu. It's Danish, and it's the animated, but it cuts in with actual footage. But it's hard because it's Afghan refugee trying to get in, and so it don't. There's nothing uplifting there. I mean, it's hard. That's all. But
yeah.
Nobody ever. Yeah, that's the foreign ones. Nobody ever seems to pay attention to it all. That's why I made a special effort this year to see it all.
Yeah, I will see it. One, I love animation, and two, this is this man's story.
This is true. The animation is not. We're not talking about high production values here. I'm just saying, but it's still effective. But Lunana's kind of fun.
What is?
Lunana, the yak in the classroom.
A yak in the classroom. I want to see that one for sure. Yes. And Hand of God from Italy was in the Italian Film Festival last year, part of SIF. So I didn't get to see it then, but I would like to see it now. It's on Netflix.
Really? Cool.
And there's another one under the documentaries that I did see called Writing with Fire. Writing, W-R-I-T-I-N-G, Writing with Fire. It's from India. It's on Vudu. It's about, and this is a documentary, so all this is true. It's about a bunch of women who have formed their own newspaper. And women are not taken seriously in India. But to add to their trouble, they are Dalits, which is the untouchable caste. So they're at the bottom of the rung of society in both ways. And they have not only created their own newspaper, with most of these women having only a partial education, and they're going out and tackling the social problems in India. And when they were they got a grant and a bunch of money, and they bought iPhones for all of their journalists, and these women had to learn English in order to operate their little phone, right? And they did that, and then they went on the internet, and they have an international following in this newspaper with these women, that they have now acquired a voice that they never would have had without the internet.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful, wonderful story if you want something that's hopeful.
Where do you see it? Is it Netflix or?
It's on Prime and Vudu, I think.
Voodoo, yes,
Prime and Hulu?
yes.
Okay.
Yep, writing with fire, so powerful.
And we could use some good news out of the internet, couldn't we?
And that's one story. Well, Being the Ricardos, I thought, was a fun movie to watch. I thought it was well written. Aaron Sorkin. I enjoyed that. And if you
Catherine doesn't agree.
Who doesn't?
Catherine.
Catherine. Oh, what?
Oh, I really, yeah. I mean, but nobody needs to hear I got opinions on everything, because I could talk power on every one of these movies, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's how I felt like I needed to see Lucille Ball at this point in time. I mean, it was, I didn't find it appealing.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
All right.
I actually
Catherine?
stopped watching halfway.
Okay. Catherine, if you listen to podcasts, I have a recommendation for you, okay? So
TCM.
Turner Classic Movies, they have a podcast, okay? And all last season was on Lucy and Desi.
Oh,
And I think is there 9 episodes, 10 episodes? Fascinating.
Fascinating.
And so when I listened to that season of that podcast, then I had to watch the movie.
okay.
And to me, it was like, okay, it sort of brought it all around.
And did
Fascinating couple.
did you like the movie because of that, or did you still feel the movie was a little mediocre?
I liked the movie because of the podcasts.
Okay.
I brought more depth, I think, because my understanding of the couple.
Oh,
Great. Thank you, Reed. That's wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Fascinating to listen to their lives in their own words, Lucy and Desi's. I mean, Desi wrote a book about their relationship. And I think that the lovely thing is how much they loved each other, even though they were divorced and had moved on to other couples, being other couples. They loved each other all through this. And that in itself was pretty wonderful. And
yeah, I think, I will give it a try. I think what I was not liking was that I felt like it was showing Lucy as like mean. And I think you can be a woman in charge and be a leader without being so hard. And I just didn't like the way that she seemed like they were just portraying her as so hard.
But I think, Catherine, she really was. She had to be. She had started Hollywood in the 20s. And, where she was nothing more than a woman to be used and thrown in front of the camera and then discarded, right? And she had to grow a backbone. She said, Desi bought a studio. I think he bought RKO and they turned it into Desilu Studios. And Lucy ended up having to buy the studio from Desi because of all of his debts and stuff. And so she went into her first board meeting and Desilu was doing television at this time. And she went into her first board meeting and the directors were 86ing the idea of even doing Star Trek, of doing Mission Impossible, of doing all of these TV shows that, and at one point she stood up and she said, "Gentlemen, how many of you have your name on top of this studio, right? And-
Yes.
And she said, I'll tell you what we're going to show and what we're not going to show. And she said, and that, my friends, was the day they put an S at the end of my name. So, yeah. So I think she had to be a tough person,
Mhm.
and just to be taken seriously.
Mhm.
Anyway, and Janet, did you see Tick Tick Boom?
I did. Oh, yes. And I think I really enjoyed it. And at the end of it, I thought, the poor guy, after all that time, has to die of this terrible thing that I think if he'd gone to another hospital and was wealthier, he would have lived.
Wow.
But
Yep.
I thought Garfield did a good job of acting in that.
I have never seen him turn in a lackadaisical performance.
Yeah.
Did you see him in the film Never Let Me Go?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God. Honestly, my heart broke in 1,000 pieces with his performance when he realizes the reality of the situation he's in. Yeah, I wasn't sure I could get out of my chair afterwards. It was so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that guy.
Yes, yes, I did too.
And it's Miranda's directorial debut, right?
Is it? Well,
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh, right.
Yes,
He's known
right.
for Broadway.
Yeah.
So,
right.
and this
Yeah.
is his first time.
Hamilton and all.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'd like to chime in back to Andrew Garfield too, is when you were talking about movies that might not have gotten the Best Picture nomination, but I was glad to see Jessica Chastain win for playing Tammy Faye Baker. And I thought that movie was really well done and better than some of the ones that did get nominated for Best Picture. And Andrew Garfield played Jim Baker in that. And I thought he was excellent in that as well. These two people who are such caricatures, they did a good job of like portraying them in a way they humanized them, and it was still entertaining, but I think they really showed their humanity and explained their relationship, and did a really good job with that film.
Nice.
Yeah.
I saw the documentary, The Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Yeah.
That was done probably, about 20 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That was a very good doc.
Yeah.
I developed a real sympathetic thread with Tammy Faye.
The tone of the movie is the same as that documentary. Yes.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to say something about the Oscar program. I watched all of it. I watched it from 2:00 on. I saw everybody come down the red carpet. I watched every minute of the after show. I watched the whole thing. And oh my God, what happened to Hollywood? Where are the movie stars? It was so disappointing. And Beyonce's opening thing was just so excessive. And it was like everything that's wrong with America. It was excessive. Everybody's boobs were hanging out. I've never seen such styles. It was all boobs. You were all waiting for a nipple shot. I mean, it was horrible. And there weren't, there were a few movie stars who showed up and did, but there were so many music people. It opens with the Williams sisters, who are athletes. They're great athletes. Yeah, that's good, but they're not movie stars. And then, of course, I'm, old. And so there are all these young people that are, they're promoting them. And I just, I really miss I miss Billy Crystal when he would do an opening number that was written just for the Oscars. And, Billie Eilish, yeah, great, but there's thousands of the young squeaky girls singing. And I don't know, I just felt real nostalgia for the old days when we had movie stars and they wore fabulous outfits and they were interviewed. And I don't know, I was
Okay, we have a second curmudgeon.
Yeah. I was depressed.
maybe curmudgeonry is justified sometimes.
Well, yeah, I didn't see the in memorial clip, but I understand that that was poorly handled. And at least according to the critics and what I've read afterwards, it's, you know, we're in a new era, and most of our movie stars are gone, and there are media stars nowadays. But I think the term movie star is going to become as outdated as anything we have. And I celebrate these new talents. You know, otherwise movies would die when we do. And I think what I fault are the people who are on the Academy who are trying to put together a show that don't have the capability of appealing to a mass. I mean, look at the Grammys. The Grammys seems to be a perfectly reasonable show. And the Oscars, I never did like their big musical numbers. I thought they were, you know, if this is a film about the movies, the music is a part of the movie, but these overly produced, loud, garish numbers that they do on stage, you know, we ended up not seeing the Oscar presentations to 8 major Academy slots, like sound editing and those and those people are kind of swept under the rug so that we can see, you know, Beyonce high kick and stuff. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't think, Maria, that we're going to be seeing a whole lot of going back to old Hollywood. I think, yeah, and that's too bad. And the dresses, holy cow, I didn't know if I was watching a glamorous award show or whether I'd stumbled into Victoria's Secret. It was interesting, just interesting.
The 3 women who were the hosting, I thought those worked well, but there weren't enough of them. And I also just got the feeling with so many of the presenters, it was just new people being pushed. I don't know who they all are. I don't know. And I also even really questioned the Liza Minnelli at the end. You know, Lady Gaga does a really good job, and she did a fabulous job with Tony Martin, but I mean, that was just pathetic. I felt really bad for Liza Minnelli. I mean, she can't feel bad for herself for that, but I thought that seemed like a really cheap shot to me.
Well, I think, Maria, they didn't prepare her. I think it kind of felt like it was an aftermath, you know? And this is a woman from old Hollywood, and she's used to rehearsal. And you can just imagine that, you know, they didn't take the time. Because she's in a wheelchair, it'd take more time to get her in to rehearse her than it would, you know, some 19-year-old. And so, yeah, and once again, I kind of blame the preparation, and she wasn't prepared. But Lady Gaga was very generous and gracious with her. But then do you remember the year they brought out Deborah Carr? No. Deborah Carr, who is such a together, independent woman and strong actress. And when they brought her out, I think it was the late 90s, she was in her late 80s.
Yeah.
And she's on the stage all by herself, and nobody prepped her as to what she was to do. And she kind of walks forward and kind of stands there as she gets the standing ovation. But I mean, it just went on too long, and she was obviously confused and not really sure what, you know, and this is not how we should treat our Hollywood royalty.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't want to be famous, because I don't know what's going on a good day, let alone with 1 million people watching me.
Yeah.
Well, can I give a brief shout out to upcoming movies from April 14th for, I think, through the 24th. SIF is up and running, and you can watch it virtually. I got my virtual tickets for SIF. Go to sif.net.
Yeah.
Or you can go into the theaters and see some of these movies. And a couple of the movies are not going to be available virtually. Two I'm really sad about. One is Zhang Yimou, who did Raise the Red Lantern. He's got a new film. And the other one is the Jim Broadbent movie, where he plays the taxi driver who stole a valuable painting from a museum back in the day, based on a true story. So you can only see those two in the theaters, but they'll be showing movies at the Uptown and at the Egyptian and at Pacific Place. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you buy a ticket, if you buy the virtual ticket, if you're a member, the ticket is $150. And considering they have probably 300 films for $150, that's a good deal. Yes.
Even I can do the math on that.
There's our films that are already out, right?
Most of these films are getting their first showing at SIF.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and these are going to be next year's foreign film possibilities for the Oscar. So I usually go for the foreign films because we get so few of these coming through on the island nowadays.
Yeah.
And you can tour the world. I'm telling you, when I was going to SIF like 12 hours a day, and then coming home on the boat and waking up at 7 and doing it all over again, I really felt like I had toured the world in depth with these stories and the cultures and the, oh God, the music and how they treat each other in certain cultures and how they talk to their kids and their wives and how they eat. And I almost needed 2 days just to get over my jet lag. So. Anyone have any recommendations that we should be streaming before we go? No?
You know, I wonder how many here have seen the film The Old Goats that was done on the island?
Me.
Not everyone? Okay, I talked to a couple of ladies in the thrift shop, bookshop, and they hadn't heard of it or anything. That's really interesting because so many of the people, and it's fairly well done, I thought, and it's entertaining. But that might be something to show on a Friday night, senior center.
That's a good idea, Tom. Yeah,
it's not only a good idea, it's going to happen. So
all right, how about that?
So check out the splash when it comes out for May and June, and it will be in the lineup then. It's going to let's see. I know, maybe not. Looks like they're going to do Burkholder.
Oh, that's okay. Taylor's other film about these guys.
About these guys, right.
Taylor
June 19th.
Okay.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Janet.
Oh.
Thank you, TJ.
Janet. Thank you, guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Come back again soon.
Bye, TJ.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you all.
Thank you.